This is the Hwam 4620, and these stoves are currently underappreciated, undersold, and therefore, perhaps, undervalued. Hwam's history spans more than 50 years, and every stove they send out gets a little booklet all about their history. But, of course, that's not all. You get a 5-year warranty, but also a 6-month warranty on all the consumables inside the firebox, the grate and the fire bricks. I know that's a small token, but most manufacturers, you don't get anything at all for consumable parts. You also get little rubber feet which attach to the bottom of the stove, which makes fitting it really easy and means that your hearth doesn't get scratched or the stove doesn't wobble on it. They also send you things like this, just a small pot of grease, because this has a door which just shoves closed. And so all of those things just slip and slip nice and easily, and it never squeaks. Also, if you want to fit it in a corner, these corners here need just 12 centimetres to combustible material. Most importantly, you get a completely mechanical form of automation run by little biometallic coils. This means that the stove always runs at perfect efficiency. You get less fuel consumption for more heat, you produce less ash, everything is controlled perfectly so components last longer. Essentially, the running costs should be lower. You've still got a control which opens and closes and decides how much air is coming in. But when you heat it up, this primary air slowly, as the stove warms up, starts to close. The secondary air also drops a bit, and then the tertiary air comes open. And if we warm it up fully, this would be a stove at full temperature now. The primary is being closed off, the tertiary is fully open, and the secondary is open. And we can still have an adjustment on how much air is coming in, but the idea is that this runs perfectly all of the time. As this cools back down, this is in the back of the stove and this is your air control, but as this cools back down from you opening the door or the stove burning down, as you can see here, all of this starts opening and readjusting itself, so it's always perfect. Finally, this is a 7 kilowatt stove that's available like this, or with a slightly taller log store, and you can even get heat storage version as well. Hwam are obviously very big into their lighting. They are adamant that you want to light a stove the wrong way up, but interestingly, they taught me that the reason for this is so you can slow the lighting down, make everything take longer, so that the stove warms up gently. We want this top-down method because it's a reliable way of heating a stove up and getting stuff working, but it's all very gentle and slow, which to me sounds great if you've got the time. But most of us don't. And Hwam's answer for that, when you light it, with a tortoise match, clearly. Rather than waste time and have extra work, simply light it, shut the door, turn the air vent up, of course, and don't go back to it at all. This will run now for an hour without us looking at it, thinking about it, touching it, refueling it, even shutting the door or playing with the air vent. Nothing. This is after an hour. We haven't had to touch it once. We haven't needed to adjust the air vent, and we still don't need to reload it. There's still plenty of flame going on. But at this point, perhaps you can shut the air vent down, and from here on, we don't ever have to touch it again other than reloading it. It's got to be a 10 out of 10. As you can see here, this was after the whole time we've been running this stove, and this stove stays very, very clean. However, you get a glove, but it's important that you put the fuel left to right, because all of those nasty volatiles and things that make glass dirty come out of the ends of the piece of wood. So if you turn it towards the glass, that's where you get that little bit of clouding. If you don't, it's always spotless. This stove runs at 80% efficiency, and obviously it has all the modern ticks in all the boxes that stoves have to have nowadays. This automation though is appearing more and more in stoves, and the cynic in me says this is because they're trying to dumb us down into good little slaves for our lords and masters. But on the flip side, it's not only cleaner and easier, but Hwam with their mechanical solution, it's simple, it's reliable, and they've been doing it since the 80s. 40 years of growth and success with it implies that they're going to be very, very good with it. Clean has got to be a 9 out of 10, though I couldn't run it overnight for obvious reasons. This stove is made from 3mm steel rather than some others that are made of 4 or 5mm steel. That could imply that it's more or less durable, but because it controls itself, it's not subject to overfiring, so it doesn't need to be built to overcome that. This also implies greater efficiency because as consumers we consume a lot, and this consumes a little bit less in terms of materials and maybe fuel. This stove is all convection, which means that we've got air channels in between the body and the outside of the stove so that you more efficiently share heat around the room. The whole stove is made from steel, and it's got this cast iron top, cast iron door and grate inside. We've got this lovely ash pan that's actually suspended on little wheels, so it slides in and out beautifully. We've got fantastic direct air ventilation from underneath, bringing in the air from all the right places below, down the front of the glass to keep it clean, the tertiary air to keep things super efficient and clean for the environment, stay cool handle, and a pull and shove door, which is great to use, not forgetting the fact that the way it's put together looks fantastic, and we've got this tremendously huge piece of glass which has got a very slight curve to it. We do then have a control. I realise most of the time it's running itself, but when you light the stove, this little dial here, you turn up and it excites it a little bit more, and we've got a bit more air. After an hour and you come to reload, close this down and you literally don't have to touch it again, and we go from slightly busier flames to a bit more of a wave. Now, this comes down to your perspective, because if you're a person like me, and obviously I am, this stove isn't built as toughly as some, there's no real overriding control, and I can't run it overnight. But the advantage that probably 99% of the world has is they're not like me. And for those people, it's less work, it runs correctly all the time, it's cleaner, and there's more heat for less fuel. It's got to be an 8 out of 10, and this is a case in point. This stove is still at operating temperature, giving off full heat, and we still don't need to reload this for probably another 15-20 minutes. I've just loaded it, shut the door, not touched the air vents, not touched anything. Now you watch. That lower air is bleeding in completely automatically. I haven't done that. I've just shut the door, and then as those flames reheat that coil, it will calm it back down again. This stove ran for 7.5 hours on a net of logs, giving the full 7 kilowatts at full operating temperature. I said at the start that possibly these stoves are undervalued, and it does appear for a large proportion of users out there, they could be. Hwam have been around for a long time, and they don't have a reputation for problems or falling apart, which means that they are delivering better value in terms of the materials used, potentially the fuel per kilowatt, and how long parts are lasting because they're not being worn out. Yes, these things are all fairly bougie and exciting looking things, and that comes at a cost, but nevertheless, I think this is still a 9 out of 10. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. Not much, but I've dabbled. Because I don't like control, and I don't want people dumbed down and convinced that they're not clean, good, or effective enough. I believe and I trust ordinary people far more than corporations, governments, or AI. But this is a wood-burning stove with a biometallic coil in it, an idea that came out of the 1980s. And it's genuinely cleaner, easier, cheaper, cleverer, and better for most of you who are looking at which stove to get. I have one stipulation though. With the time, money, and headspace that a stove like this could potentially repay you, go out and design something. Learn a musical instrument, go for a drive, or make something with your kids. Because if you use this time to doom scroll, then we are, as the name suggests, doomed. But if you use it for then this stove and the 10 minutes a day extra that it gives you could change your world.